There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
It was a speech for the ages. 1 hour and 48 minutes, the longest State of the Union address in American history, and widely acknowledged as absolutely historic. As of today, Trump's poll numbers are through the roof, and the Democrats have simply never looked more completely and pathetically defeated. But buried in that speech, almost no one is talking about this. Trump revealed something that's happening behind the scenes right now, something far bigger than any speech. It's something that could fundamentally reshape how Americans vote in the 2026 midterms and beyond. And almost no one is talking about it until now. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It is Live Stream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, enjoying yet another exciting and glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back on November of 2024. So, as always, if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to, there it is, where it is, smack that bell and subscribe button. As always, we've got a jam-packed show for you today. Our super chats are up, so feel free to send in your comments or questions. It'll be my privilege to read them and answer them during this live stream. And before we dive in here, I have got to share with you something. It's got to be one of the coolest things I've ever encountered. You know, emergencies don't wait for perfect conditions. I mean, one wrong turn, one breakdown, one unexpected storm, and suddenly you're fighting the cold instead of getting help. So that's why this tiny little orange bag matters so much, because inside it, I kid you not, check this out. It's a full-size, heat-reflective emergency sleeping bag designed to trap body heat and protect you in extreme conditions. I know I've snuggled inside of this many a time. It is so warm. I mean, I'm literally sweating in it. It's waterproof. It's windproof. It's bright orange, as you can see, so rescuers can spot you fast. Now, I've read that emergency experts recommend having at least one of these for every family member. I mean, it weighs almost nothing. It fits in the glove compartment of your car. We have one for all of our cars. You can throw it in your go bag. It works when everything else fails. And you won't find these in stores. Sierra Madre engineered them to be compact, affordable, and more advanced than bulky sleeping bags. They weigh actually 10 times less than a typical sleeping bag, but they're 7 feet long and 3 feet wide. All right. So, I mean, this is huge. They fit anybody. Now, a typical sleeping bag will cost you around $200. Well, right now, these are marked down over 59% with free shipping on multi-pack. So get your family ready today and save a bundle before the sale ends. Oh, and I almost forgot the coolest thing, the 10-pack ships free. So that doubles up your savings. So click on that link below and make sure your family has real protection when it matters most. Click on that link below right now. You're going to absolutely love it. And everyone you know will love it as well. All right, let's dive right in here. I'm going to get rid of this sleeping bag. I'm going to get too hot underneath it. That's what's going to happen to me. All right. More and more polls are pouring in for the reaction to President Trump's speech, and they are absolutely devastating for the Democrats. The latest is from Trafalgar, one of the most accurate pollsters of 2024. Trump's approval rating has skyrocketed, 51% approval. But what they also found is that 47.1% of those polled strongly approve of the job that President Trump is doing. So it's very loyal support. CNN's polling that night found that 63% approved of the speech, and CBS found that a whopping 75% of those watching approved of the speech. And more than that, according to CNN's own poll, 64% of speech watchers said Trump's policies will indeed move the United States in the right direction. That's up from 54% the day before the speech. So that's a 10-point jump in a single 24-hour period. Now, those two numbers are absolutely key, precisely because the single most accurate predictive indicators for how a midterm election turns out are presidential approval rating and right track, wrong track polling. Okay, so those are the two key indicators that we're going to keep a very close eye on over the course of this year. Presidential approval, right track, wrong track. So the president is underwater. Presidential approval, well, Gallup has it at 50%, but a lot of people since Obama have found it's more like under 45%. But more or less, if a president's job approval rating is under 45%, and if more people think we are on the wrong track than on the right track in terms of the direction of our country, the president's party loses an average of 30 to 40 seats in the House, right? So it's what happened in 2018. But if their approval is above that and the majority of the country thinks we're on the right track, then the president's party either gains seats, like they've done 3 times in the last century, or at least minimizes losses. In fact, Trump was one of the few presidencies, I think only 5 times in our history, where his party, the Republicans, gained seats in the Senate in 2018. If I recall, we gained 2 seats in the Senate. Now, again, that's the precedent of past elections. This year looks like we're charting new territory, particularly with all the redistricting that's going on, especially if the Supreme Court strikes down the VRA, right? Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act that has allowed for racially gerrymandered districts, what are known as majority minority districts, that have deliberately excluded and discriminated against white voters. If that's struck down, which it looks like it will be, Politico estimates that upwards of 19 solid blue districts in southern red states, 19 solid blue districts made up these majority minority demographics in southern deep red states will vanish overnight, which means the Republicans could have upwards of 230 guaranteed seats. I mean, solid red seats where there just aren't enough blue votes to flip them. Again, we'll have to wait and see on that, okay? And that's one of the things we'll be focusing on all throughout the year. But there's no question that this speech from this week was a grand slam from beginning to end. And that's largely because every minute of that hour and 48-minute speech was devoted to an 80-20 issue. Every minute, right? 80-20 issues are positions that command supermajority support from the American public, and they leave opponents stranded on the wrong side of an overwhelming consensus. So protecting American citizens over illegal aliens, remember that moment? Yeah, 80-20. Banning congressional insider trading, 86% of Americans support it. No tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, 80-20. Voter ID, 90-10, right? Keeping violent criminals locked up instead of releasing them on no cash bail, 95-5. Rooting out billions in welfare fraud, 99-1. The only ones who are against that are the ones who are benefiting from the welfare fraud. It's the Somali community that's voting against it, right? Honoring gold medal American athletes, standing for angel moms whose children were murdered by illegal migrants. Trump did not pick a single issue the entire hour and 48 minutes that was even remotely controversial among the vast majority of the voting public. Every single one of them polls at supermajority levels across party lines. And then the trap. He forced Democrats to publicly oppose all of them on live TV for all to see. And they already have an absolutely killer campaign ad that the Democrats themselves helped script. Take a look.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. These people are crazy.
Now, as you can see, that wasn't a speech. That was a kill shot. That was a kill shot. And here's how voters reacted to moments like that. Take a look.
Yeah, I viewed it last night watching it is that they gave a middle finger to the oath of office that they took. In fact, their new oath of office is oppose Trump. On anything, on any situation, the one thing that they seem to want to come together on is to oppose Trump. Trump could find a cure for cancer and they would find a reason to disagree with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is just their strategy to get them through the midterm or whatever, but I think that if it's just about opposing Trump, I don't think that the people that elected them sent them there to do that. Number one, it is about the American people first. You got to take care of home. You got to take care of your family before you can take care of or try to help to take care of someone else's.
I mean, have you ever heard a more perfect description of MAGA than that? She nailed it. That's the beauty of populism. It's the people who are the defenders of nation, culture, custom, tradition as over and against a corrupt elite who are selling out our borders, our economy, and our culture for their own political and economic gain. You can see why the polls for Trump are surging this week when you look at how real Americans reacted to that speech. People across social media were absolutely floored by what they saw the Democrats do, or more accurately, what Democrats refused to do. It was an absolutely brilliant speech for how it so perfectly and effectively framed Trump and the Republicans on the right side of the 80-20 issues. At the same time, it framed the Democrats on the wrong side of the 80-20. And again, forcing the Democrats to publicly perform their own political obituaries by sitting down and physically opposing all of those 80-20 issues. And it's not simply issues that Trump's on the right side of. It's the results. He brought the receipts with him that night. Inflation at a 5-year low, right? 53 record highs in the stock market since the election. 53. Energy prices down. Manufacturing booming. 2.4 million Americans lifted off of food stamps in a single year. 0 illegal aliens admitted into the country in the past 9 months. 0. Freaking 0 illegal aliens crossing the border. No tax on tips, overtime, or Social Security. His Trump RX program slashing prescription drug costs 80-90%. And on the world stage, 8 wars ended. We got a new one breaking out between Pakistan and Afghanistan, right? We could talk about that in the questions and comments below. Remember, we've got our super chats up. If you want to ask some questions, I'll be happy to read them and answer them here on this live stream. You know, I mean, Iran's nuclear program set back by years, a 20-point peace plan in Gaza to turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East, NATO allies finally paying 5% of GDP, and a peace process in Ukraine that didn't even exist under Biden. 80-20, 80-20, 80-20, 80-20, 80-20, and all happening. It's not just issues. It's not just proposals. It's receipts. And what do the Democrats do in the midst of all that? What do? They literally just sat there sullenly, silently, refusing to stand. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar screeched like banshees. Al Green got escorted out again. Second year in a row for trying to disrupt the speech with some juvenile banner. Virginia Governor Spanberger gave that humiliating rebuttal that nobody watched. And even those who did, even on the left, they called it incoherent. And that alternative event put on by 70 Democrats or so, turned out to be the single most humiliating event to take place in politics ever. And no one came. Unfortunately, I wish it was a big crowd. I wish there was a lot of people to see that cringe fail, but the crowd could have fit in your living room. They had nothing. And you cannot beat something with nothing. And that's what we found out this week. The Democrats, for all of their weeping and gnashing in teeth, they've got nothing. They've got no counter argument. They've got no competing vision. They got costumes and contempt. That's it. Costumes and contempt, because they know the economy improved. They know the border is sealed. They know Trump solved conflicts Biden wasn't even cognitively aware of. And they've got no answer for any of it. And I got to say, this is very serious for the Democrats. And we're seeing a number of commentators finally coming to this realization. You know, one of the things that we've talked about on this channel for months is the notion that in the end, the best case, probably the most persuasive case that the Republicans can make to the American people is, and Larry Schweikert, the historian's been talking about this for a while. Yeah, sure, we suck. Yeah, sure, we're dysfunctional. Yeah, sure, we're pretty ineffective. And yeah, we never fail to disappoint. But we don't want to kill you. We don't want to destroy you. We don't want to lock you in prison. And we're not insane. We're not crazy. We're not rabid ideologues that will literally revel in your destruction. When Trump pointed to that side of the aisle and said, these people are crazy. These people are nuts. They are lunatics. That was not good for the Democrats, because that's precisely that campaign. Yeah, we can we on the right, we in the GOP, not Trump and the GOP, because remember, MAGA is an executive movement. It is a presidential movement. It is a movement that every person on the planet has voted either for or against. Every person in the nation, has either voted for or against in the person of candidate of a president. Tom Massey's district voted overwhelmingly for MAGA. 77 million people voted overwhelming for Trump. 77 million people did not vote for Massey. They didn't vote for MTG. They didn't vote for anybody who's trying to hijack the movement. 77 million people voted for MAGA. MAGA is an executive movement. It has yet to translate into a congressional one. It has yet to translate into a senatorial one. It has yet to translate into a legislative movement. It's not there yet, just simply not. So the Republicans can look at the country and say, yeah, okay, we're pretty disappointing, no question. But at least we don't want to kill you. At least we don't want to open up the borders. At least we stand up when a Ukrainian refugee's daughter is murdered to honor her memory and honor her mother. We'll stand and clap for the gold medal U.S. men's hockey team. We're not insane. We love our country. Actually, half the time, the reason why we're so dysfunctional is because we want to honor probably some outdated protocols that we should get rid of, but we still want to honor them because we want to honor precedent and history and tradition and custom. We love our country, just along with you. We don't hate your country. But the Democrats do. The Democrats hate you. The Democrats' loyalty is first to illegals, not citizens, as you heard that wonderful woman explain. That's the real campaign. It's America versus post-America. It's pro-America versus anti-America. It's citizen versus illegal. It's sanity versus insanity. It's love of country versus hate of country. That's the key. And that's what I think, that to me is the big takeaway, the brilliance of that speech, because I think Trump laid that bare for everyone to see. Here's what makes this speech even more significant than the obvious victory lap that it was, because buried inside it, almost in passing, Trump called on Congress to pass the Save America Act, requiring proof of citizenship to vote. Check out what he had to say.
Anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things. You almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John. And here,
once again, Trump brought the receipts. The Washington Post just broke a story this week that changes literally everything, and it may indeed change how we do elections forever. This is going to blow you away. But first, if you are just joining us, our super chats are up, so feel free to send in your comments, your questions. I'll be happy to answer them on our live stream right here. Also, do you realize that most people are still trying to build wealth by making predictions, right? We're trying to predict the market. We're trying to predict interest rates. We're trying to predict what the Fed will do. We're trying to predict which stock, which crypto, which hot investment will win next. And that's exactly why so many Americans feel stuck. But I just learned about something that really, it doesn't require prediction at all. It's a government-run system where double-digit returns, you heard that right, double-digit returns are guaranteed by law. Let that hit you. Double-digit returns are guaranteed by law, backed by real assets and enforced by the state. Not historically, not on average, no, by statute. And the part that shocked me is how simple it is. You don't need to flip houses. You don't need to manage tenants. You don't need to gamble on Wall Street. You can literally test the waters with as little as $50. And it only takes a couple of hours a week. That's why my buddy Jay is hosting a free live masterclass this Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Write that down. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. He's going to show you exactly how it works, step by step, and how regular Americans can start safely. But it's live only, no replays. So go to turleyclass.com to register. You can just click on the link below. That's turleyclass.com. Or you can text Turley to 72,000. Turley to 72000. Again, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. This is amazing. If you want a return strategy based on state statutes, often double-digit returns, this is it for you. This is amazing. I'll see you at the masterclass. All right. The Washington Post just broke a story that has the entire establishment in a panic. Pro-Trump activists working in coordination with the White House are circulating a 17-page draft executive order that would declare a national emergency over Chinese interference in the 2020 election. And if signed, it would give the president sweeping power to ban mail-in ballots, restrict electronic voting machines, mandate voter ID, and require hand-counted paper ballots, all ahead of the 2026 midterms, all based on the fact that Trump would have effectively reframed elections as a national security issue. Now, back on February 13th, Trump sort of tipped his hand on Truth Social. He said he had discovered an irrefutable legal argument for requiring voter ID, whether approved by Congress or not. So he made it clear one way or another we're going to get this done, either in the form of the SAVE law in Congress or in the form of an executive order. And now we know what he was talking about. So here's the core argument. Again, this has just been broken by the Washington Post, what little staff they have left there at the Washington Post. But the draft order alleges that and again, this is a draft for an executive order, right? The draft order alleges that China irrefutably interfered in the 2020 election, and that this irrefutable interference constitutes an ongoing national emergency. Under the IEEPA, right, which was made so famous with the terrorists, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a declared emergency would unlock extraordinary presidential authority, bypassing the normal constitutional framework where states run their own elections. Now, the establishment's first line of defense is very predictable. Washington Post already published it. Legacy media, after getting word of this draft EO, is running out there with the assertion that, oh, this has already been debunked. The intelligence community already debunked the China claim back in 2021. And technically they did. A declassified assessment said that China considered but did not deploy influence operations to change the election outcome. But let's be honest about who was running those agencies in 2021. This is why I have literally no time for the legacy media at all. They always leave these parts out. This was the same intelligence community that literally just weeks before the 2020 election produced the infamous letter from 51 former intelligence officials claiming the Hunter Biden laptop had all the classic earmarks of a Russian disinformation operation. We now know, thanks to congressional investigations, that letter was indeed organized from within in direct coordination with the Biden campaign. So the lead organizer, former acting CIA director Michael Morrell, testified before Congress that he worked personally with Biden's team to give the candidate a debate talking point. And some of the signatories were still on active contract with the CIA when they signed that fraudulent document. The agency's own leadership knew about the letter before it went public. So when that same institutional apparatus tells you months later that China had nothing to do with 2020, 2020 was the most pristine election in human history, I think you'll forgive the skepticism. I think you'll forgive me pulling out my shovel. The intelligence community has already demonstrated in the most brazen possible way that it was most certainly willing to use its authority as a political weapon on behalf of one party. The credibility of those agencies during that period, 2021, is, to put it charitably, compromised. The difference now is that Trump has new personnel inside the intelligence agencies. None other, of course, than the great Tulsi Gabbard, running the Office of Director of National Intelligence. She's spent the last year setting up a reform task force aimed at rooting out what she calls the politicization of intelligence gathering. And her team has been involved most recently in FBI searches of election facilities in Georgia. They've seized voting machines in Puerto Rico for forensic analysis. And attorney Kurt Olson, one of Trump's Stop the Steal lawyers, he now has access to classified intelligence and is actively investigating 2020. So here's the strategic logic in all of this, right? If Gabbard's reformed intelligence apparatus does indeed produce a new assessment, one that concludes, as Trump alluded to, irrefutably, that China did indeed interfere in 2020, or that voting systems are and remain vulnerable to foreign exploitation, then the executive order does have teeth. It has legal precedence to frame national elections as an issue of national security, all based on a current national security finding from the sitting director of national intelligence. That does fundamentally change the legal calculus. It transforms the order from a perceived political power grab into a national defense measure. And that is a category in which presidents have historically been given the widest latitude by the courts. Now, does that mean this executive order is going to be a slam dunk? Obviously not. We've all learned our lesson on that, particularly with the terror. Remember, Trump has almost had a perfect win record at the Supreme Court. So that's what made this really silly 6-3 decision a bit of a shock. Again, I prepared you for that. I said, there's a very good chance they're gonna knock that down based on the assessments that I was reading. But nevertheless, I think we learned our lesson. Trump does face a real battle here. Federal courts have already blocked key provisions of his earlier election executive order back in March of 2025. So that's judges in Oregon, in Washington, and in D.C. They struck down bans on late arriving mail ballots, proof of citizenship requirements on voter registration forms, and attempts to withhold federal election funding from non-compliant states. So the courts, thus far, the lower courts, it has yet to make its way to the Supreme Court, but the lower courts have been rather clear on this. Under Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution, election administration belongs to the states and to Congress, not the executive branch. Again, to be fair, to continue to be fair, it belongs to the legislative branch, not even governors in states, right? The sole plenary authority for carrying out elections is decided by state legislatures. So the constitutional obstacle is real. The Supreme Court has never recognized a president's authority to override state election administration through emergency powers alone. But if the argument can be made that our national elections have indeed been irrefutably compromised by foreign actors, that will indeed justify presidential executive action. So Trump is being very bold here, and it looks like he's going to force the Supreme Court's hand in this by mandating voter ID and issuing an executive order securing elections. If Trump can build an evidentiary foundation through these reformed agencies with Tulsi at the helm, he won't just be issuing an executive order. He'll be establishing a precedent that the sovereign people of this nation have the right to secure our own elections, even when the permanent bureaucracy spent years looking the other way. That's not authoritarianism. That's accountability. And it's long overdue. There's a reason that State of the Union speech hit the way it did. It wasn't just the policy wins. It wasn't just the numbers. It wasn't just the feeling in that room. The hockey team standing in the gallery, right? The 100-year-old veteran finally getting his medal. The chants of USA, USA echoing off the walls of the People's House. For one night, America remembered what it felt like to be proud again. Not ashamed, not apologetic, not divided into 1,000 grievance categories, just proud. And that's exactly what's at stake here. Because what good is a golden age if it can be stolen in a single election night? What good is a sealed border, a booming economy, and peace around the world if the very mechanism by which the people choose to keep it is broken? That's the question President Trump is asking, not with words, but with action. The State of the Union showed us who we are. The fight to secure our elections is the fight to make sure we get to decide who we remain. That's not authoritarianism. That's not a power grab. That's the most basic promise of self-government, that the voice of the sovereign people will be heard, will be counted, and will not be drowned out by those who spent decades rigging the rules. Trump didn't just give the speech of a lifetime this week. He's betting his legacy on the idea that the American people deserve elections as strong as the nation they're building. And my money is on Trump. Over to you, as Josh, our moderator, puts together your questions. Did you know that U.S. life expectancy peaked at 78 years back in 2014? And global life expectancy is declining for the first time in 30 years because people are aging faster than ever before. And this is largely due to more toxins in the air, like chemicals in our soil and food, and other external factors that are new to us. Now, what most people don't know is that you can actually fight aging on a cellular level. Scientists have discovered that kimchi actually slows the aging process of human cells, helping to protect them and delay aging. The power of nature can outweigh the power of pharmaceuticals without the nasty side effects. And now you can get all the benefits of kimchi in a simple capsule with Kimchi One. Now, I take Kimchi One every single day, and I love it. Each capsule delivers over 900 probiotic strains, plus antioxidants and enzymes that support your digestion, your metabolism, and your skin health from the inside out. You see, as we age, we become more susceptible to microbial threats, harmful viruses and bacteria. But the beauty is that Kimchi One is a natural antimicrobial. It helps your body fight off harmful bacteria, viruses, even toxins, while boosting immunity and energy. And best of all, Kimchi One, it's made right here in America. It's all natural, non-GMO. And so do what I do. Support your gut, protect your cells, and feel younger every day with Kimchi One from Brightcore. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below. Just use code Turley for 25% off your entire order, or for an even better deal, give my friends at Brightcore a call. They're patriots just like us. They'd love to chat with you, and they're going to give you 50% off your order and free shipping if you give them a call. Call them now at 888-597-0233. That's 888-597-0233. That's the kimchi in me burping here. All right, Josh, what do we got? Benton, I saw a post from a more reputable source that Americans need to leave Israel. The Iranian government is wounded animal due to internal strife and the ominous threat of the U.S. Navy and Air Force. Wounded animals attack anything or anyone. What are your thoughts? Most learned one. Oh, my. Well, sure. I mean, yeah, of course, if the it's my kimchi, it's all my wonderful kimchi, all those probiotics working in my tummy. Yeah, I mean, obviously the State Department is issuing orders for Americans to leave Israel. You want to take those orders seriously, no question about it. If you want to verify that, I do think Iran is the weakest it's ever been. Again, how this all turns out, we'll have to see. But remember, what Trump is doing is he's putting a squeeze, a classic twofold squeeze on Iran. They're getting squeezed from within, and they're getting squeezed from without. They're getting squeezed domestically and internationally. So the rial is in a free fall, right? It's lost 20,000% value since 1979. They're in a major water crisis. 90% of their aquifers are dry. The underground water springs are dry. The Bazari, who are the merchant class, very, very influential. They supported the regime, the Shiite regime, Ayatollah Khomeini, back in 1979. So they were instrumental in getting rid of the Shah. they have now turned against the mullahs. So internally, and then, of course, the massive protests that are turning increasingly into offensives. That's huge. They've never faced anything internally like that. Externally, they've got a massive, armed of U.S. They've got a massive range of U.S. missiles pointed at them right now, and a huge U.S. armada, biggest buildup since the Iraq War in the region. And the combination of those two are squeezing them. We're finding, like, even when they did a joint military exercise with Russia, Russia only gave them one. Russia only contributed one ship. It was just a show. China's backing away from them, and then of course the Sunni Arab world. While they don't want a war, they've made that clear. They're not friends with the Persians. They're not friends with the Shiite Iranian regime. So they're being squeezed, it seems, from all sides. Will they act out impulsively? We'll have to see. We don't know. But again, this is one of the reasons why Trump said they can't be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. RT Corp, great and learned patriot professor. Some of us are confident the Democrats will not do well in the midterms, but I'm dooming a little bit. I fear there's too much hope for the Democrats. As the great Turlinator, I'm sure you agree, the hope must be ripped from them, crushed, driven before us, and the lamentations engulfed upon. Yes, absolutely. Well, of course, I mean, there are, in fairness, there are polls that show the Democrats up in the generic ballot way above the Republicans. Some will have like a 10-point lead or 7-point lead or something akin to that. But the most recent ones coming out show them only with about a 2 or 3-point lead. And that's it. They're not going to be able to do anything. That's just going to be a little trickle. There's no blue way. This isn't 2018. I'm not seeing anything like that, especially given how few contested seats there are. Remember, on average, I think, 93, 94% of seats are already done deals. Because they've just been gerrymandered into either blue or red. So you've got about 7% seats, and you just have to win about 4% of those 7%. And the Republicans, in the end, there's more or less 17 contested seats, if I recall. And the Republicans, if they win 11 of them, and there's a good chance they will, especially if the VRA decision goes our way, where in many ways those 17 seats could be wiped out. We wouldn't even need them because we just picked up 19 red seats. That looks very good. So in the end, you want to be hopeful. You want to be cautiously optimistic. You want to prepare for the worst, because again, if history repeats itself, if the past is precedent, the Democrats will get control of the House. That's just what happens. It happened with Reagan. They already had. They increased their majority in the House, even with Reagan in 82 and even in 86. They're going. Bill Clinton came in with very high ratings in 92, and of course lost the House in 94 with the Gingrich Revolution. It's just that Obama came in as the Messiah in 2008 and lost the House in 2010. It's the nature of politics. But again, who cares? In the end, both Clinton and Obama won re-election overwhelmingly, right? It doesn't really matter if they win. Now, that said, it's not going to be, there is no indication it's going to be anything like a 94 or 2010 or a 2018. No indication whatsoever of that. It just looks like if they do win, they have a very low ceiling. They'll win by a few seats, and that's about it. And then you're going to have a battle between MAGA and the obstructionists in Congress that'll set up JD for 2028. So there you go. But there's good chance we're going to hold on precisely because of a roaring economy, Trump on the right side of the 80-20 issues, the Democrats being so utterly and demonstrably insane and anti-American, And then the VRA and the redistrict decision coming down, and the potential redistricting of as high as 24 seats. All right, Robert Driscoll, my hero, Donald Trump, yours and mine as well, Robert. And did anyone sign up for Mamdani's snow shoveling scheme? I think I saw a handful of people showed up. It was very small. It was very quick. It was pretty pathetic. They didn't look like they were very enthused. And obviously they had to present at least 2 forms of ID to do it, ironically. Bismo, Marvel Doomsday, Dune Part 3, The Mandalorian, The Odyssey, Avatar 3. Any movies you're looking forward to? Or have you bailed on Hollywood? Oh, good question. No, I haven't bailed on Hollywood per se, or movies. Remember, I like a lot of foreign films because I find them very well. First of all, I just think they're better films. They have, especially Japanese movies, Japanese anime. Their plot is just so much thicker and richer. The Odyssey looks really neat. Very exciting. I get nervous with Marvel because of the the wokeness that's infected it. Maybe they've moved away from it. I love Dune 2. Dune 1 was a bit slow for me. Dune 2, I mean, it was fine. It was good. But Dune 2 and the rising cosmic theocracy, I was like, oh, sign me up. So Dune Part 3, I'm very, very excited about. Bob, yeah, President Trump and Dr. Steve. Love it. RT Core, wait a second. When was Hillary ever concerned about sensitive information being leaked? Oh, that whole Hillary thing. Yeah, no, that whole thing is it's a joke. It's a joke. I mean, I'm glad it's happening with Hillary and Bill. I'm glad it's happening. Don't get me wrong. The very fact that they're even doing this deposition under oath, Comer made it clear to them, guys, we're going to have to arrest you. Our base is going to require that. So you got to show up. So that the Republicans did read them the Riot Act. You're going to do this one way or the other. If we put you in handcuffs, our polls go through the roof. You got nothing to win here by you refusing to testify. But in the end, what does Hillary know? I don't know. She has some relation with Ghislaine Maxwell. I think that's what they were trying to probe and find out. And then Bill today, I mean, he's going through it right now. And anything to delegitimize the international elite class that ran our managerial liberal globalist order that has come crashing down. Anything to have them continue to morally crash down before the world, the better. And that's the way I see this. Will anything come out of this? Probably not. But it's just another way of reminding the world what a scum. I mean, he already got Me Too within his own party, but what a scum Bill Clinton really was. Bob, is John Thune going to continue to drag his feet on the SAVE Act? Was he feeling pressure to move on? Well, I think this is one of the things that this EO is supposed to do. Is it's supposed to pressure Thune to do it, saying, dude, either you act or I act. In fairness to Thune, and again, I'm no fan of Thune. In fairness to Thune, it's as I understand it, it's Murkowski, it's McConnell, it's these rhinos who are dragging their feet on it, and they're not giving it the support it needs. One of the things Thune wanted to reinstitute was the standing filibuster. So again, just the lazy how you can have a non-standing filibuster. How you can have this? Well, we can't vote on it because we'll filibuster it if you try to vote on it. Oh, okay, so we won't vote on it. Make them filibuster. Make them do that. I mean, again, it is such an asinine blight on the Senate, our own House of Lords, to show how lazy and elite these people are. So you could shut down an entire legislative agenda just by saying, well, we would have actually filibustered it if you brought it to the floor. So they need a majority to get rid of the simply the informal filibuster and bring in standing filibuster, to make them actually shut down the Senate physically by reading green eggs and ham or whatever they got to do, and then when they're finally done, you can vote on it. And apparently, it's Republicans who don't want to get rid of this informal filibuster. So it's just again, MAGA is not a congressional movement. Remember, MAGA works in two directions, right? It works vertically. It's the people versus the permanent political class, of which many Republicans are a part. The neocon, the Mitch McConnells, the Lisa Murkowskis, they are very much part of that permanent political class. But then it's also a horizontal divide, as we saw in many respects at the State of the Union, where it's Americans versus post-Americans. It's those who love our country versus those who hate our country. So it's a full circle fight. And in this case, we're fighting a permanent political class, the vertical divide in our own party. And if any of you are from Alaska, you have got to do what you need to do. I know they're going to get rid of the what's that strange form of voting that they use. They're going to it's going to be on the referendum to get rid of that voting. But you have got to get rid of Lisa Murkowski. She is an embarrassment. She's a Democrat. She's I mean, in many ways, Joe Manchin is more conservative than she is. John Fetterman is more conservative than she is. So anyway. Bert, Dr. Steve, how's the new book going? Very well. Very well. It's just, I work on it in the afternoons. And I think you guys are going to love it. It's going to be, it's not even a book. It's a paradigm. In many ways, since I spend so much time analyzing current events in light of larger conservative civilizationalist trends, I've been very frustrated trying to find a full orb paradigm that brings it all together, right? So we'll examine the world through the lens of multipolarity and great power politics. We'll examine the world through the lens of the rise of civilizationalist populism or techno-populisms, like when we get into crypto and AI and so on, quantum computing and all, or the way it's bypassing the old liberal industrial order, the way texting and email bypass the post office. We talk a lot about the rise of civilization states, like in Russia and China and India, here in the United States, and our becoming the sovereign in our Western hemisphere. We talk a lot about things like astropolitics, the role of technology and what's known as technopolarity. We talk about the role of religion and religious demographics in changing and tipping the culture wars in the direction of the right, as we're seeing with red states gaining electoral votes and blue states losing them as of the 2030 census. Should have already happened, but it's going to happen with a vengeance in 2030, if unless we were able to do some mid-decade redistricting or mid-decade census recensing. So we talk about the rise of theopolitics and trying to put it all together. The network society, I mean, you name it, parallel economy, trying to put it all together. There's just no paradigm that does. And I've been very frustrated with that. I'm like, come on, I need some kind of model, some kind of frame, all-inclusive frame that puts all of those dynamics together, that's moving the world away from the liberal international order to a more civilizationalist, literally cosmic order, because that's one of the big frustrations, is everyone's still talking about world order. But what's actually happening, just spend 5 minutes with Elon Musk, what's actually happening is we're moving more and more into a cosmic order, literally a galactic order, right? With all the satellites and the space stations. And we're going to have a moon base within 5 years. We're going to have actual robots out there building, AI-driven robots building those moon bases, not even human actors, but androids, as it were. So, I mean, the world is astonishing. The cosmos is astonishing. And we just don't have, I have not come across, I have searched and searched and searched for a paradigm that puts all of these dynamics together into a coherent frame. And so that's what I'm calling a civilizational cosmocracy, or civcosm. And so that's the working title of the book, the civcosm, the sort of the end of liberal globalism and the rise of a civilizational cosmocracy. And so that's what the book will be dedicated to. It'll be, and I'll try to make it very, very accessible to everyone. I want everyone to be able to read this and get this. And I want them to understand the role of populism, the role of civilizationalism, the role of technopolarity, and how technology is moving us literally into a whole different sphere of planetary development, what we call the noosphere, how AI and Bitcoin are part and parcel of that noosphere. Get into the rise of civilization states, the rise of theopolitics, the rise of astropolitics, and an increasing galactic expression of these ancient civilizations. And one of the key aspects, I think one of the reasons, and I'll finish up with this. Thanks for asking, Bert. You can see what I'm thinking about a lot. One of the key aspects of this book that so many of the models for world order, it should be cosmic order, get wrong is they claim, they all recognize we're entering into a post-liberal world, and yet they separate religion. They continue to separate like religion from politics, which is a very liberal thing to do. Or they continue to separate technology from tradition, which is a very liberal thing to do. And what we're seeing is this kind of archaeofuture fusion, where the more technological we become, ironically, the more traditionalist we become. The more religious we become, the more scientific we become. And the two come together through civilizationalism. Technology and tradition, science and religion are coming together again in a rapprochement to reawaken the ancient civilizations of old, but now enabling them, that technology enabling them to reach the stars that they've always been so enamored with. So it's amazing stuff. It's an amazing world. So it was a very selfish project. I just want to have something for myself that was all put together that I've been looking for that I haven't seen. IQ, Hillary, thank you for the pound sterling. How can Hillary not know Epstein personally when it was Epstein who set up Clinton Foundation? How can the Republicans not ask this question? I did not know he set up the Clinton Foundation. Very good question. I don't know if they did not ask that question. That's I have not seen an exclusive I've not seen an exhaustive transcript of their questions. So that's a good question. I don't know. RoboGuy, the fact that Trump needs a possible EO for secure election shows we aren't in control of Congress. Even with the State of the Union, the GOP wants to lose on purpose. Also, what if a judge tries to block? Yeah, no, we talked about that. It is going to face hurdles, no question, and it's going to have to end up in the Supreme Court. Now, look, stop it with the GOP wants to lose. Stop that. You don't know that. You couldn't even remotely prove that to me. There's no evidence the GOP wants to lose. Have you heard somebody, have you heard anyone in the GOP say, I want to lose. I want Gavin Newsom to be president. I saw Mike Cernovich did that the other day. Oh, Republicans are just trying. They just want to lose and they want to thwart JD and bring in Gavin. How the fuck do you know that? For God's sake, stop it. I mean, seriously, stop this dooming. This black pilling is absurd. We're winning despite you. We are winning bypassing you. You can, and I'm the generic you, not necessarily you, Robo Guy, but you've got to stop with the GOP is just throwing it all away. No, the GOP is a bunch of dysfunctional idiots. Congress is a bunch of dysfunctional idiots. But they don't want to kill you. They don't want to reopen the borders. Nobody's voting for that. They don't want a return to Biden. They're not insane. They're just dumb. So stop it. They have an advisor class and a donor class that is doing whatever they can to try to hold on to the last vestiges of the liberal globalist order, because that's where they made all their money and got all their power. But Trump has ripped it apart, so it's irrelevant. They're literally 7 years behind of what's actually happening, and it's going to take time for them to catch up. But do you think Rand Paul is any better? Or Tom Massey? Oh my gosh. I mean, these guys are just, again, they live in their own egos. They're egocentric cosmos. And they're there to make their own money and send out their email blasts for fundraising every day. And whatever they do, it's all for that perfect email that'll raise them all their cash. That's what Congress is. They call it a swamp for a reason. And so, but the question is, bottom line, who do you want running the swamp? Would you rather have our side run it or their side? Would you rather have the side that at least wants closed borders, or the side that wants to open them up again? The side that's perfectly fine with deporting 11 million people, or the side that wants to turn them into citizens? Which one do you want? And the notion that the Republicans want that other side is absurd. No, they don't. They want power. They want money. So stop it. Seriously, stop it, guys. MAGA is not a congressional movement. Stop treating Congress like it is MAGA. It is not. Think of it as many ways. Think of it as a foreign party. Think of it as, think of it as a party other than, so you got call them something else, so you got the Democrats, you got the, call them the goofball party or something like that. And then you've got MAGA, the Republican MAGA party. That's Trump. It's one person. And then in the goofball party, you've got a bunch of people say, oh, me too, whenever it's a good photo op or whatever, they want to raise money or whatever. But most of the time, they still have, remember, Trump was a third-party candidate that took over a major party nomination, right? So that party is still never forgiven him for that. That party is still never forgiven him for knocking out 16 of the GOP's finest. So, and what I'm talking about is the apparatus of that party. So the advisor class, the donors, the Karl Roves, they're still mired back in 2002. They are literally 20 years behind. Let them be 20 years behind. It's fine. Are they going to blow it? They may. But is Trump going to help them over the finish line like he did in 2024? Yeah, I think that's what he's going to at least try to do. But enough with this. We're not in control. They want to lose on purpose. Enough. You don't have any evidence for that. None. Zippo. Only don't let your rhetoric get ahead of your evidence. All right. Make sure it's always evidential. Don't let your feelings get ahead of the facts. That kind of stuff. All right. Enough. They'll slap you back. Super sticker, thank you, Janine, very much appreciated. William, the Democrats' real oath is to the globalists. They are cultural Marxists. I mean, it's a weird kind of combination. It's a what we call technically a post-normal combination. But you do have the liberal globalist elite. So you got the Gavin Newsoms, you got the Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's, and then you have the representatives of their various constituents. You have the emancipationists, so these are the feminists, the LGBT activists, and then you have the ethno-nationalists, the tribalists. That's the BLM activists, La Raza. Afrocentrist advocates. And the combination of both the globalists and the emancipationists and the ethnocentrists is basically they want to burn down the country and rebuild it in their own image. Now, what's funny is they all have very different ideas of how to do that. So that's when they get power, that's when they clash, interestingly enough. So in the Islamo-socialist world, in Dearborn, in Hamtramck, we're seeing it a bit, obviously, in New York City now. All of a sudden, they begin abandoning their other constituents. So one of the first things the All-Muslim Council did in Hamtramck was ban the pride flag. And their own voters flipped. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, we have power now, and we're going to rule in an Islamo-socialist fashion." And pride flag doesn't have any part in that. It's a form of conservatism. It's not one that fits with faith, family, and freedom. It's not civilizationally compatible necessarily with Western civilization, but nevertheless, that's the debate. But no, you got it. The Democrats' real oath is to the globalists, and I would say to the tribalists. Wild and Crazy Bear, Trump needs to go after Thune more full force. Yeah, and again, I don't know if it's Thune. It's more Lisa Murkowski, who hates Trump. I don't even know if they're on speaking terms. And it's Mitch McConnell, who hates Trump. I don't even know if he can speak. So it's the rhinos who are dragging their feet. RoboGuy, despite Trump clearing it up with the data centers, he needs to address the tech shortage crisis and CEOs seeing humans as too much work compared to AI, like what the subhuman Phil Sam Altman stated. Yeah. RoboGuy, that's actually really good. This is huge. But it's ironic because the very white collar liberal that laughed at the working class for being so concerned about illegal migrants stealing their jobs and lowering their pay are the very ones that are getting replaced by AI. I mean, you gotta admit that's a little ironic, isn't it? AI ain't replacing plumbers. AI ain't replacing builders. AI is replacing lawyers. It's replacing data analysts. It's replacing accountants. It's replacing white collar people. So, yeah, I mean, the cat's out of the bag on this one, RoboGuy. I mean, there may be some protectionist legislation that can be passed, but AI is the future. I mean, there's just no way around it. It's going to be as prevalent in our society as is electricity. Right? Again, it's already happening. So just as everything got electrified, even your toothbrush got electrified, right? So everything is going to be cognized. It's going to be plugged into this artificial intelligence. And so the question then is, how do we navigate that world effectively? And that's, on our channel, that's what we have to, something we talk about quite a bit, actually, as you know, or as you may know, in our club, in our Courageous Patriots Club, we talk a lot about AI, crypto, with the rising noospheric world and how to navigate that world effectively. Necrophiliac, the angry mob was trashing hotels in Minnesota, looking for ICE. That's what the entire country will be if Democrats gain power. Mob rule, mob justice, the ends justify the means. It's the neo-Bolshevik movement. Yeah, well, they'll try, and it'll certainly happen in a lot of urban cosmopolitan areas like LA, San Francisco, Chicago, Minneapolis, as you're pointing out. But not the vast majority. It's a big country, and the vast majority of the country does not go there. The vast majority of the country is MAGA. Now, whether they come out and vote because they're low prop or no prop voters or something is a whole different question. But the vast majority of the country is not with them. And we learned that during the Biden era. If ever there was a time they could have completely and totally cracked down on us, it was the first 2 years of the Biden era when they had both chambers of Congress and the White House. The entire deep state was behind them. They did everything they could to put Trump in a jail cell to rot for the rest of his life. I mean, they clamped down. They threw everything they had at us, and we weathered it perfectly. We did parallel economies. Cryptos kept us safe from debanking. We built parallel social communication infrastructures, and we resisted. And red state governors like Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott, they stood their ground, and they stood again, and they employed a federalism, the federalist mechanisms that they had at their disposal to build, in many respects, administrative and legal walls to protect their citizens from the overreach of Democrats in Washington, D.C. Do not overestimate their power. They are not as powerful as we often think they are. Ellen, so what happens if Bill and Hill just take the fifth and say, no, well, Hill did not the other day, and then we'll see if Bill does that. Good question. I think they could, in fact, be indicted. In human condition, Trump's State of the Union and Marco Rubio's Munich speech were awesome, but we need a rest. So far, we still see that the commies are, in fact, above the law. Do you think Trump hears us on this? I do, but it's again, it's just a bit more complicated because the entire system was designed to protect them. So the entire system that was designed to hold us accountable was also designed to make sure that they would never be held accountable. So it's hard. It's not easy. We can't treat them like they're underneath. They're underneath the system. They're above it. They created it. And so it operates by rules and protocols that largely leave them immune from it. So it's hard. It's very hard to nail them on it. But I think Pam Bondi is doing it, and we're seeing it, in other ways. We're seeing it in the mass resignations, particularly with those associated with Epstein. We just saw it with Larry Summers. He was a former Treasury Secretary under Obama. He's officially resigning from Harvard University. We saw it with the president from the WEF, who replaced Klaus Schwab. He has been disgraced by his relationship with Epstein. For heaven's sakes, we just saw it with Prince Andrew, or formerly known as Prince Andrew. He was just arrested, So yeah, there are things happening, but it's hard. You got to understand that, and don't let discouragement in that area cloud the amazing, like you said it beautifully, the amazing things that are happening with Trump and the Trump administration as a whole, who are not just giving speeches, but giving results. William, whose hearts and minds were changed when the Democrats sat on their hands? Is there going to be more than just a bump in Trump's popularity after the State of the Union with the American public? Or is it fleeting? Is it more than just a bump? I think, yeah, those are two of the same things. Is this just going to be a bump? Is it going to be fleeting? Is what you're asking. Well, time will tell. We'll have to see. So what we found is that independents. So I did a video earlier this week on a real-time polling agency that found that independents loved the speech. Independents were blown away by it, and they loved the patriotism. They loved the U.S. Olympics, the men's hockey team coming out. That got huge marks. They loved the honoring of the victims, of the parents of victims of illegal migrant crime, murder, and so forth. And they found that they were pretty shocked at the behavior of Democrats. Now, how long it'll last, we'll have to see. But it is momentum. It points to, again, like when you're watching a sports game. We're in the second quarter. We're just starting the second quarter, and we're crushing it right now. And we just, like Rush always used to say, we have to stay on offense. We have to keep moving the ball, and we have to keep them on their heels. Glenn, thank you, Dr. Steve, the best. Well, thank you, Glenn. You're the best. It seems odd that Democrats don't stand for American citizens, yet want to make all illegals to become citizens. So they won't stand for them if they do. Maybe you have the best moniker for that, the best slogan for that. Don't become a citizen, else the Democrats won't stand for you anymore. That's a very good point. No, unfortunately, I think they'll become the only citizens they stand for in their radically, ethno-nationalist, tribalist sentiments. No, I mean, look, in the end, I think we all know what's going on. Okay. Democrats are losing demography big time. Liberals are disappearing from the earth. You have to get that. Western liberals are disappearing. That is not hyperbole. Western liberals have largely stopped having kids, whereas conservative females are having more kids than ever when you take into consideration the drop in infant mortality. So on average, conservatives have a 30% fertility advantage over their liberal counterparts. Liberal women are twice as likely to be unmarried and childless than a conservative. And already in 2004, Philip Longman, the demographer, had noted that Bush had won, the states that Bush won in had a 12% fertility advantage over the states that Kerry won in. And he predicted that within a generation, not only would that fertility gap grow, but that would shift electoral power decisively towards red states. 2013, Eric Kaufman publishes Shall the Religious Inherit the Earth, puts forward the thesis that the single most accurate predictor for fertility rates was religious commitment. The more religiously conservative, the more children. He predicted by 2030, the culture wars would shift decisively in the direction of red states. And lo and behold, what's happening? Blue states are losing population. They're hemorrhaging population. Red states are exploding in population and getting more red in the process. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Arizona's perfect example, North Carolina. And they're not just exploding in populations because of refugees. They're exploding in population because they have an inherent, baked into the cake, as it were, fertility advantage over secular liberals. So the only way the Democrats can overcome that, and by the way, kids growing up inordinately stay. We've got the studies inordinately. Yes, some leave. Yes, some get their nose rings and all this idiocy. Yeah. I'm not beating up nose ring, but you know what I mean. They'll dye their blue hair and all that sort of stuff. Yes, for a time, but generally speaking, if you're raised conservative, by the time you're 30, you come back. You're conservative again, especially when you start having kids. That's just what we find in the studies. So the only way Democrats are going to be able to be a viable party demographically is if they import millions and millions and millions of voters. That's the only way. That's it. And keep in mind, while they were doing that, the Republicans were just sitting on their hands going, doing nothing. So again, they're an incompetent party, but they're not demonic like the Democrats are. And so there you go. I think that's the only reason why they would have deliberately the border open. There's no other reason outside of just also causing all the chaos and insanity that they claim that they're the ones who cause, but then they claim they're the only ones who can resolve. Sam, Dr. Turley, are you surprised that Danielle Smith is not openly supporting Alberta independence? She's been so vocal about the unjust treatment of Alberta. Is this a political move? Will she come out in favor of leaving before the actual referendum if the race is close? Yes. So I think she's hedging her bets. She has been, she's the very fact that she's not clamped down on the referendum, the very fact that she's not come out against the referendum, unlike someone like, Theresa May or David Cameron. With Brexit, they were supposed Tories, conservatives, and they were all for the EU and globalism and so forth. But the very fact that she's not doing that is a win. You got to get that, right? This is a spectrum. It's a trajectory. The very fact that she's not doing David Cameron 2.0 is a huge win. That doesn't mean she has to be Nigel Farage either. Okay, that's it. For whatever reason, she's decided that's not my shtick. She's gonna hedge her bets, and I think she's playing it very well. We're going to let Albertans decide this. And I will go wherever Albertans want us to go. if it starts to look really close towards the end, watch, she'll probably say, you know what, it's probably a good idea for us to leave. We have everything to gain and literally nothing to lose. We have an economy. Alberta's economy alone, isn't it? It's bigger than all of the other provinces combined. You have an automatic trading partner with the United States, especially with oil. I mean, it would just be it's a win-win-win, and she can make that argument. But we'll see. I think she's hedging her bets. But I think she's a great premier. I think she's been doing a very, very good job. Jeffrey Epstein is in the Bill Clinton file. I love it. I love it. The question is not, is Clinton in the Epstein file? The question is Epstein in the Clinton files. That's great. I like that. Great. Lisa, Dr. T, I saw Tucker Carlson online claiming the Israel. Tucker said that he and his crew were questioned and said they needed to hold one or two people for questioning. Any idea what it was about? No, I don't know. No, I thought he was out. He was in Israel to interview Mike Huckabee, who's the U.S. ambassador to Israel. But I don't know what the holdup was there. It's a good question. I don't know. Alex, good morning, Professor. Kind of unrelated. What's your opinion on these age verification laws passing throughout the world? WEF trying to kill anonymity. Oh, good question. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't thought about that yet. I mean, it's a balance, it's a balance in terms of cybersecurity, legit cybersecurity and cyber freedom. It's a balance, and it's not easy. I don't know. Is the WF pushing it? Is that a big thing for the WF? Well, they'll push anything that'll give them more power for sure. Give them more data. Data is more valuable than money in many respects. So, but it's a good question. I haven't thought about it enough. Great. I mean, seriously, great question. I love it, but I can't answer. Suzanne, Republicans should push the message to get out and vote this upcoming midterm elections. Also, a list of Democrats that did not stand to let constituents know and vote accordingly. Yeah, and unfortunately, most of those Democrats are sitting in solid blue districts like Ilhan Omar, for example, and their constituents. A lot of them are they are non-American born citizens, so they're what we call paperwork Americans, right? They're citizens in sort of name only, but that's what we found happening with Mamdani. Again, the more and more our politics is American versus post-American. It's the vast majority of his voters, as I understand, or the vast majority of those who were not born here in the United States voted for Mamdani. So that's what they've been doing is they've been importing a constituency of primarily third world grievance groups that they can exploit through cultural Marxism and basically say, like we heard, what was that guy's name? Who's the Chinese fellow? Chu Chen, I forgot, who basically said, that people of all, African Americans, Asians, Latinos, we're all oppressed by the same group. Speaking of whites, of course, and so we all need to rise up and push back against them. It was a very tribalist way of thinking, but that's exactly what that's what marks our politics today. All politics is identity politics in a civilizationalist age. Culture is front and center of everything that we do. So, but I like the way we have to exploit who sat down for those districts that are persuadable. It's very important. Those 17 or 11 of the 17 districts that are indeed swing districts that we can persuade to make sure they do not vote Democrat. Sheridan, Dr. Turley, first time comment. Thank you very much. Very appreciated. Do you think they are potentially holding back on the SAVE Act filibuster in hopes of a positive VRA, voting rights amendment determination? Possibly. In which case they wouldn't have to do it, is what you're saying, or they would be able to redistrict 2018 plus solid red seats. That's what possibly. I just think in the end, people like Lisa Murkowski and McConnell are they're just so virulently anti-Trump that they just don't want to give him any wins. And when it comes to this, they want to keep Trump out of our elections, and I think the SAVE Act is just basically a surrogate Trump action. So I think they've convinced themselves, as well as their advisors have convinced them, the donor class that basically pulls their strings, have convinced them, stay away from Trump. He's only got a few more years. We'll see we'll see if we can put someone more friendly to our neocon, hopefully revivalesque globalist cause. And but of course, it's all doomed to failure. It's not going to happen. RoboGuy, thoughts on Paramount likely to buy Warner Brothers? Yeah, that's actually a big one. I was thinking of possibly doing a video on that for our live stream today. I thought it was probably better just to keep going with the really cool what do you call it, State of the Union. But no, this is big. This is huge, at the very least, because of the way it's frustrated Netflix. If you still got your Netflix, you might want to get rid of it, right? I got rid of Netflix a long time ago, and Netflix is the single most liberal company on the planet, to my knowledge. There's not a company that even comes close to it. And it looks like that they were going, as you say, they were going to buy Warner Brothers. But no, we just got Warner Brothers Discovery's board declared Paramount's multi-billion-dollar offer was $100 billion+ offer, superior to Netflix's $83 billion offer. And so Netflix had to walk away. And that means now that CNN, HBO, Warner Brothers, just the entire Warner Brothers empire, Warner Brothers Discovery empire, under the roof of David Ellis, will be now under the roof of David Ellison's Paramount. And David Ellison is pretty close with Trump. So that's what makes this so astonishing. Ellison's father, Larry, is a major Trump donor. Paramount executives forced the liberals at 60 Minutes to settle that lawsuit with Trump for $16 million. And that was a prerequisite for FCC approval for the Skydance Paramount merger last year. They brought in Barry Weiss. Yeah, she's not, she ain't MAGA per se, but she is your cosmopolitan conservative journalist, the Free Press founder. They brought her in and installed her as editor-in-chief of CBS. There's been talk that they might bring in what's his name? Scott from CNN, Scott Jennings from CNN, although Jennings said he wants to stay at CNN. Yet in the end, this is the techno-populism that we're so excited about. We talk about a lot. It is people with patriotic sentiments in positions of techno-economic authority that are using that authority and that power to promote a far more, America first, MAGA-based narrative in our media. I mean, one of the defining battles of the emerging multipolar age is the fight over who gets to control the narrative architecture of a civilization. And for decades, it was liberal executives, woke executives, CNN, Legacy Hollywood, just the whole progressive media apparatus. They just function as this information priesthood of the liberal international order. And they're the ones who are the gatekeepers of what could be said, what could not be said, the stories that were allowed to exist. They pushed narrative rather than news, which everyone does in the end, but their narrative was obviously progressive realist. And so I think this Ellison acquisition doesn't just change ownership. I do think at least it has the enormous potential to change civilizational alignment. So a media empire that spent years, advancing globalist narratives is being absorbed into a corporate structure aligned more with the Trumpian vision of nationalist populism, sovereign identity, and the restoration of balance in the information commons. Netflix would have been a disaster. Netflix was your quintessential progressive globalist streaming platform, and they lost. Paramount, restructured around conservative line leadership, won. And that is the relegitimation of our cultural sphere. So we're winning the culture in all kinds of ways. It's not just, we wouldn't even have to do parallel halftime shows anymore if this kind of trajectory, if this kind of trend continues. The information architecture, the entertainment architecture of the American civilization state is being reclaimed from within. So I was ecstatic to read that. Very, very happy. So thanks, RoboGuy. Great question. Commander John, Trump 2028. DJT will win again in 28. Vote Ken Paxton. Absolutely. Amen to that. A big supporter of Ken Paxton in Texas. And he should win. He should win relatively easily and then beat ghetto girl Jasmine Crockett probably by 10 points. I doubt it. I do. No one would love to see Trump 2028 more than me. I just don't. Steve Bannon was pushing that for a little bit, but it almost looked like that was Steve trying to get in, Steve trying to gin up some attention on himself. I just don't see how he could possibly do it constitutionally. Brian, my dear friend, I think the Republicans had the blueprint after the State of the Union for winning the midterms. They simply have to stay disciplined and not fall into Democrat traps like the Democrats fell into theirs, right? Yeah, good point. I never doubt their ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Amen. Republicans are idiots. They are the stupid party. Do you think they will, quote, or one, approve an actual filibuster? The Democrats have to talk in order to get the SAVE Act passed. I'll just stop right there. Apparently, it's the likes of Murkowski and Mitchell are getting in the way of that. So I don't think we can depend on Fetterman going our way for that vote. I think I don't know if we have the 50+1 votes for that. And I think it's just a simple majority for what they would need for that. So that's the problem. That's the problem we're facing with that one, as I understand it. And then number 2, use reconciliation to get the partial shutdown ended. That's a very real possibility. I could see them doing that again. It just comes down to these rhinos of whether they're on board. Do something else on either. Yeah. On either. Yeah. Well, Trump can do the executive order thing for elections, but that's going to get challenged in the courts. I made that clear in the presentation today. But if he has some pretty strong evidence of CCP interference in 2020, which he claims he does, then that may indeed be a game changer. The Supreme Court would have to address elections in relation to national security, which I have not seen thus far. And then, Thune is going to have to work his magic, man. Say what you want about Mitch McConnell, but he could work magic. He knew parliamentarianism pretty well, and he was able to work his magic. And I just haven't been that impressed with Thune. He pulled off the triple B, and that's about it. I just think there's just our own House of Lords, the Senate, occupies such a different cultural space than what animates MAGA. I don't think they even know what sense to make of what's going on here. They would be perfectly happy if we could go back to endless wars and big deficits and keeping our corporate capitalists happy and keeping their donors happy, and then just giving lip service to pro-life causes, but never ever voting in any way to do anything more than the Mexico Protocol, whatever, where you don't send money overseas to abortion. I mean, it's just the most milquetoast, uninspiring, so almost kind of death of empire vibe. And they just seem to at least their donors still have it. The advisor class. It's where Karl Rove sentiments still lives in the Senate. It's just very hard to get anything done through them. So we've talked about this, Brian, I'm a big Article 2 guy. I think what we've been seeing a record number of constitutions written over the last 10 years at greater rates since any time since the end of World War II. And this is because of this civilizational populism. The people are coming back into control, and they're moving away from constitutives that favor protocol and rules of order and precedent, and they're going and putting the power back in the hands of constituents who are rewriting constitutions. So we saw it with El Salvador, saw it in Russia, Putin's 2020 rewriting. Orban has passed 14 constitutional amendments. Tokyo's in Japan, the LDS party is about to, or LDP party, LSD, right? LDP party, they're about to pass a bunch of constitutional amendments. Turkey did it. Thailand is doing it. Whereas we're not so much changing our constitutions, reawakening it, after, I think, decades of administrative state slumber, where a fourth branch of government basically took over executive power. Now Trump has reclaimed that. And so we're just going to have to, just as MAGA loyalists, we're just going to have to be really centered on milking that executive power for all it's worth. It suffered its first major defeat as of last Friday, a week ago, and with the tariff decision. But we just gotta dust off, and as Trump did, and remember, we talked about the sections, right? What was it, the 232 and the 122 and the 301? He was able to immediately pivot to those exact sections that we were talking about, and so I think he's going to have to continuously pivot in light of either disappointing Supreme Court decisions or just dysfunctional congressional inaction. He's just going to it's going to be all Trump in the end. Commander John, no Rubio, no Vance, only Trump 2028. Sorry, guys. No, I'm with you, Commander. I in a heartbeat. I can't imagine saying goodbye to President Trump. I can't imagine waking up the morning of January 20th, 2029, and thinking that just within hours, the greatest president of, I think, in history in many respects, but certainly of our lifetimes, is going to be no more. That's very hard. But the civcosm, the civilizational cosmocracy that's rising up all around us, is much bigger than one man in the end. Although, boy, no one casts a shadow like he does. Super Buff Shaft. I still can't get, after 4 years, the very proof the 2020 election coup is sitting on Rumble by Jovan Pulitzer audit of real 2.1 million Arizona ballots. I can't get why our side won't cover it and the mass crimes. I don't know about that, Super Buff Shaft. Maybe they may not have covered it to your life. I mean, you obviously you're following this in detail, and the coverage is not compatible with the seriousness of the detail that you're seeing. I think that's where your concern is, and totally legit. Yeah, I get that. But it's happening. I mean, Trump is already saying, again, with the 17-page EO draft, he's already ready to show the world the kind of a sample of the kind of cheating that was going on in 2020. So it's not over. We're still there. The media's could do everything they can to cover up precisely because they were part of the cover up. So they have to. They have no other choice. Commander John, already did that one. Why are Germany, France, Canada going to China and backstabbing us? All right. Well, that's not hard. Unfortunately, it's not hard. So they're globalists. And as globalists, China was the prize. It was the notion here that if you can globalize China, globalism was like a great giant can opener. It would liberalize China's society and turn China away from communism and make it a full-blown, liberal democratic, state. And while that never happened, all of the business, energy, minerals, networks were nevertheless established with China. So they're easy and they're cheap. And China can do it very fast because they have such a massive manufacturing. And just remember, one shipyard in China produces more ships than all shipyards in the United States combined. So China is just massive. You have to get it. They still have a long way to go to catch up with the United States, but they are massive. And then the administrations, the Macron administration, and the Merz administration in Germany, the Carney administration in Canada, they're all liberal globalists. They're all liberal globalists who love those networks. They love those chains. And to chain, and you could see chain in a double entendre there, right? Manufacturing chains over to China. They love them, and they're trying to use them as leverage against Trump. Trump is pushing back on Europe and Canada as being freeloaders. That's why he's been so inordinately hard on China. On Europe and Canada, is because they have been freeloading off the United States in terms of security now and even economy for decades. And Trump said those days are over. We're now a civilizational stage, and we're not here to just be taken advantage. You have to take advantage. You have to be able to meet the needs of the hour for your own people. Again, one of the things that I always despised about Canadians and Europeans that I've talked to since my days at Peabody Conservatory are these liberal elite people who had the gall to tout their social safety net, their universal health care, and all the welfare benefits that they had from their government. And they would excoriate the United States for not doing something similar. And it was like, we pay for your entire military. We pay for your entire security. We have the default world currency that keeps your economies above the entire non-Western world's economies combined. And you have the gall, after freeloading off of us like that, you have the gall to criticize us and how we do our society. I just thought it was just so rude. So again, it's like watching Ilhan just be angry and screech like a banshee from the congressional chamber. I think it was Greg Gutfeld who said, "You have no right to be this angry. We let you in this country. We did you a favor. You have no right to hate and despise this country the way you do." And that's what Trump is basically saying to Canada, and he's saying it to Europe. You have no right, none, to critique our nation when we have basically provided the entirety of your security. I mean, Russia could wipe out Europe and Canada in a week if it wanted to. Ukraine the Ukrainian army could have wiped out the whole of Europe in a week if it wanted to. It's by far the most powerful military force in all of Europe. We're the ones who provided the security architecture, and we spent trillions of dollars doing it. And then they have the gall to tell us that, we don't get to call the shots. Oh, no, it's got to go through the WTO or the IMF or the World Bank. No, screw you. No, we're calling the shot. Oh, okay, well, then we're going to Beijing. And that's basically what you're seeing. So they're sore losers when all's that. Sore globalist losers. Arthur Connell, we survived 2 terms of Obama, 1 term of Biden. We got this. Do your job and vote. Thanks. Hey, well, see, I love that. That's what I love. That's courageous patriot right there. That's what I love. Stop this nonsense of, all is lost. The sky is falling. We survived 2 terms of Obama, 1 term of Obama. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We took back Congress in both cases within 2 years. We didn't just survive, we thrived. And red states thrived in the process as well. So you're absolutely right. Texas Patriots will vote out Cornyn, Trump 2028. What is this? Well, you're Trump 2028 there. All right, I'll jump on board. No problem. Trump 2028. I'm all with you. Show me how we're going to do it. That's what I want to know. Show me how we're going to do it. But I'm with you. I'll do it. So everyone's into Trump 20. So maybe that's the speech was so cool this week. You're like, there's no way we can hand this over to anybody else. I'm with you. Yeah, Cornyn sucks. It's time for Cornyn to go. That's the good news. The good news, again, Paxton would represent the magnification of the Senate, the slow magnification of the Senate, and getting rid of people like Cornyn and Mitch McConnell and Murkowski is. We need Susan Collins. You're not going to get any better from Maine, and she does. In the end, she does play team ball. She does. She was there with the Kavanaugh decision. She's there with most of these decisions. So in the end, she's good. Mitchell, not to admit at all, but I feel that Trump has to do more for the Second Amendment. Here in Illinois, it might be virtually extinct with the next bill. No, you're dooming again. Stop. The next bill will try to. How Pritzker's been trying to get rid of the Second Amendment since he sat his fat butt in the governor's chair. The Supreme Court will overturn it. There's no way around it. Supreme Court has basically said since Heller versus DC, when was that? 2006. You do not get to get in the way between Americans and their weapons. You just simply don't. We don't care what your decision is. We don't care what your rationale is. You don't. So he could do that. But it's going to be thrown out just like we get frustrated. It's going to be thrown out by the courts just like we get frustrated with Trump. Robo guy, I'm sorry if I doomed a lot. I've always had a problem with it, and my mind sometimes go to the worst case scenario. You've at least tried to white pill compared to others, and I appreciate it. I want the USA to do good. Yeah, no, amen, Robo guy. I get you. No problem. I get you. I'm with you, and I'm glad. Glad you feel comfortable enough to say that here. But I just think it's important. I think it's important to develop the discipline of seeing the big picture. And the big picture is we're winning. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. Right? Again, that's why I'm working on this new book, to hopefully give you the big, full picture so that every time you're feeling a little nervous, you can pick up that book, read a chapter, and go, okay, we're good. We are avoiding the fact that we're past the place. Oh, sorry. This is Chris. We're avoiding the fact that we're past the place in time where we should be united in a large militia and be camped in Washington. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm with you. It's like, I don't know if we're past that time. If the Democrats, I think, came to any substantial power again, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I really wouldn't. Especially with red states being the nature that they are with Second Amendment. So, TJ, Dr. Steve, my book is almost done, called "What is the Secret of True Freedom?" Like you to look at it. Please see. Absolutely. You can send it on over. Probably you could send it on over if you got an e-version, steve@turleytalks.com. MV Starcatcher, please name holdout senators stopping the SAVE Act. Yeah, we should do that. That's a very good idea. Republican senators, I'm assuming, since it would take too long to talk about the Democrats. Let's go to my trusty AI, which is loading up slowly. Give it a sec here. It's in its deep research mode. But that's a very good thing. And then give him a call, right? Give him get in touch with these senators and let them know. Again, it may not just be the SAVE Act. It's two. They have to support the real filibuster as opposed to simply an informal one in order to make it past the 60 vote threshold. So yeah, it's Lisa Murkowski, who should not be in Senate right now. And all right, so we only got two. Lisa Murkowski and Mitch McConnell. They're the two holdouts. Even though, but that's okay. Because even John Fetterman said he'd vote for it, but that means we still got 51 votes. But then you have these Republicans. This is the one who said that they will support the SAVE Act, but they oppose the procedural tactics needed to pass it. Tactics like an actual filibuster. So John Thune, they put there, John Cornyn, Tom Tillis. So Mike Lee, Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, they're pushing hard for a talking filibuster. But Lee himself admitted there are a few votes shy of getting the full Republican conference on board. So it looks to me, Tom Tillis, who's retiring because he's such a loser, John Cornyn, he could be pushed to do that, and I'm sure Murkowski and McConnell would be holdouts as well for a real filibuster. So there you go. Excellent, my Starcatcher. Mr. Boris, I have a legal alien wife. That's all they need. The legal part. I've been married to a Japanese citizen for 15 years, not retired military. You and I, my friend, Mr. Boris, you and I, my wife is a still Japanese citizen as well. It's much easier when she goes back in to see her family and she would become an American citizen as soon as her mom's still living. So after she passes away, but she's Japanese, and Japanese live to like 100. So, but after she passes away, that's when she'll turn a citizen. But you're exactly right. It has nothing. Again, it's the Democrats. It's the Democrats who just lie about everything, and they try to obfuscate everything. It's not about migrants or immigration or anything like that. My grandfather's an immigrant from Britain. It's about that legal part, that L word, the legal part. And so, yeah, so the Democrats are in this bizarre, strange sort of constant contradiction. They yell, they scream, they freak out when the law is being enforced against, say, illegal immigration or ICE and deportation, only to turn around and demand that we have to obey the law when they're the ones passing it, like, trans athletes in female sports or something. It's the law. You got to obey. So it's ridiculous. They're pathetic. Casper, Democrats procreate not by having their own children. It's about brainwashing your children on their side. They control many schools for this homeschool. Yeah, oh no, absolutely. I mean, all my kids went through classical schooling. I'm a big fan of it, but it's just been limited in terms of its success. Yes, the schools have tried to brainwash kids and so kind of progressive realist cultural Marxism and so on. But the net result has not been as the success that they wanted. Conservative kids tend to stay conservative. Kids who grow up and conservative neighborhoods tend to stay conservative. You'll have. I've heard numerous reports. I was in education for 20 years. I heard numerous reports of, biology teachers at rural schools laughing at Darwin. They have to teach it, but they laugh at it. My own nephews have told me they had to take a social justice class in their high school. My old high school, public school that I grew up in and graduated from. And they said all the kids laugh at it. They just think it's a joke. Nobody takes it seriously. So yes, they are doing what they can to control their kids and brainwash them, but with very limited results. BB voted for Hunt. By the way, the Texas early votes are misleading. Republicans are doing Operation Chaos. That's right, to get Crockett. The primary, nonetheless, conservatives in Texas go vote. Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's Hunt or Paxton. Yeah, either one. I think it's going to be Paxton in the end. I think he's going to pull it off. And yes, it does look like they do want old Ghetto Jasmine to beat out the. I always forget his name. It starts with a T. They're the other guy. I don't think he stands a chance. I think he'll probably lose by 10 points. Dump the GOP, Judas Iscariot's Pilgrim Media. Love it. Yes. But the problem, if we dumped all the GOP Judas Iscariots, there'll only be like 3 people in Congress. They're all so bad. Again, remember, MAGA is not a congressional movement yet. It will be one day, not yet. Politically incorrect forever. I love it. Trump masterfully trolled Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. They took the bait. Trump should have sent bullhorns to them with a note that said, "I can't hear you." I love it. Yeah, they looked horrible. They looked terrible. Again, you can't. This is what's so odd. You can't. Not even Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she was fully MAGA, and she'd show up in her white fur and all that. Not even she could. You can't beat the president when he's up there and all the pageantry surrounds him, and you have an entire political party that's clapping and supporting the president. You have a Speaker of the House that can expel you from the chambers at the drop of a hat. You just can't. He's got the microphone. You don't. You can't compete against it. You just can't. It is fascinating how the very same media that told us that disrupting Republicans was so rude and so inexcusable, given the pageantry and the protocol. They're silent whenever Ilhan Omar does it, or Rashida Tlaib. Sandy, we proved the 2020 election was stolen. Why do these Democrats still have their seats? Why aren't they removed? Is it just because the entire system is designed by them to keep them in power? It doesn't. I'm sorry. You got to get rid of this. And I'm not trying to be mean here, but you got to get rid of this naivete that we live in a nation that actually is governed by an equal rule of law, an equality before the law. There are those who create law, and there are those who abide by law. And those who create law are above the law. So that's probably a better alliteration. There are those who are above the law, and there are those who have to abide by the law. And they're above the law. There's just no way around it. So we want our people in power so as to be able to use political power so as to minimize any influence and effect that these people have. Franco, I'd sometimes watch clips of lefties claiming that President Trump is corrupt. What could they be referring to? They're lefties. They're lefties. I mean, their whole reason for existence is to delegitimize President Trump. They have TDS. So I don't know what they're referring to, but it's irrelevant. I mean, think about that. Democrats pointing the finger at corruption? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, there was Hunter Biden laptop, Russian disinformation, 51 intelligence experts. I mean, it's just like, give me a break, guys. You're as corrupt as the day is long. I just don't even know what to say to you. And that's, again, the other thing. I mean, corruption is part of politics. It's always been it's part of power. It's what it is. And it's just, bottom line is just like, guys, you could point to corruption all you want on our side. We've got the power and we're going to crush you. And so you could enjoy your immunity from corruption all you want. We have the power and there's nothing you can do about it. James, my son was told he could not read the Bible on recess at public school. We pulled him and homeschooled him. Yeah, good. Yeah, no, public schools are ever since the 1960s, when they pulled Bible reading and prayer out of the public schools and tried to push religion completely out. They just created a vacuum where wokeness came in. And so we have a whole new iconography of, rainbow flags and BLM posters. And we have a whole new ideology, a religious ideology of progressive realism. Again, the point is that public schools are not monolithic. Depending on what region you are, you're going to have some public schools that are pretty good and it's still very religious and so on. But nevertheless, I'm with you 1,000%. I'd go homeschool, go to classical schools, you name it. Absolutely. And with that, gang, wonderful week. What a week. Was it not? Absolutely incredible. A week for the ages. It seems like we say that a lot. Well, it's the golden age, isn't it? You have a wonderful weekend. If anything develops, I'll be your Patriot professor. I'll be your back porch professor, giving you the latest updates on breaking news and analysis you're not going to hear anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless.